Hi everyone, I hope all of you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about how to develop discipline in your life. What are a few ways you can think about it? I'm going to talk about it at a philosophical level from some lessons that I've learned from the Bhagavad Gita. And then beyond that I'm going to give you some practical tips that I've learned by inculcating this self control, discipline, focus in my own life through my own experience. So I'm going to give you both types of understanding of this particular struggle that a lot of aspirants, a lot of professionals, a lot of students have, that how to develop a discipline, how to develop a focus in their life. And of course, if you're a UPSC aspirant, you already know the struggles that you go through. You go through the struggle of having to study for a long period of time, doing a lot of courses that are otherwise very challenging and also confusing at times, also dealing with noise. So many people are always advising you, so many people are always telling you different things. So all through this I'm going to give you a few ways, practical ways, and also philosophical understanding of how I look at it, so that you can develop better discipline, better focus. What is the philosophical thing that I wanted to talk to you about today? It is the inspiration that I get from the Bhagavad Gita and a little bit of a different interpretation that I have developed on my own and by reading certain books. So that particular concept or that particular inspiration I get is from allegory of the Rath, the chariot and the charioteer, and how it is compared to the human mind, the human body, the entire body and the soul, from the Rath Kalpana from Katha Upanishad. And of course, this is a very deep subject. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on this, but from my initial understandings and from my interpretations, I'm going to share something with you all. So, what this allegory is all about, first of all, I'm going to share that with you. So, basically, in the Bhagavad Gita and specifically in the Katha Upanishad, a comparison is made between the human mind and the body and the soul, the entire vehicle of our self that we have, with that of the chariot. ऑलराइट, सो जो चैरियट है, जो रथ है, उसका ह्यूमन माइंड और बॉडी और सोल से एक डायरेक्ट कंपैरिजन किया गया है कि एक चैरियट को अगर आप देखें, इफ़ यू लुक एट द चैरियट, इट व्हाट ऑल डज इट हैव? इट हैज़ हॉर्सेस इन द फ्रंट, the horses who drive the actual rath, who give the power, who are like the engine of this rath. Okay, so there are these horses, and then the horses have the reins. Reins are these basically ropes you tie through which you can control the horses. Then you have the charioteer himself, or the driver of this particular engine, who holds the reins and directs these particular horses in certain directions. And then you have the entire chariot, in which the person who is accompanying the charioteer, the actual person who may be the warrior in the rath, he travels. So this is the entire setup of the rath. Now in the Bhagavad Gita, what they say is, in the Katha Upanishad specifically, that this particular chariot is made up of all these people, all these things, and this is compared directly to the human body, the human mind and the human soul. The horses of the chariot are actually compared directly to the senses of the human mind or the human person. You know, I have the sense of sight, I have the sense of smelling, I have the sense of listening. All these different senses are compared to these particular horses. Then the reins are actually compared directly to the mind of the human being. Then the charioteer, or the person who is driving the particular entire rath, is compared to the human intellect. So there is a difference, there is a very subtle difference made in the Bhagavad Gita between the mind and the intellect, which is very amazing. I find it very interesting, because mind is not same as the intellect. Your mind follows the instructions of the senses, but your intellect decides where that mind goes after it receives those instructions from the senses. So the intellect is actually this buddhi, this higher level understanding from where the person gets their motivation, and then it directs the mind, which in turn directs your senses to revert, or the mind actually takes control and reverts or directs the particular horses to go in a certain direction. So it's very interesting. And then finally, the person who is actually being driven in the chariot, is the soul of the body or the soul of you who is actually being carried from through this journey in that particular chariot. So that is what the comparison, or that is how the Bhagavad Gita actually encapsulates the entire idea of the Rath Kalpana, and I think it has a lot of practical ramifications for us in our lives. Lot of practical ramifications. For example, when you think of what are the things that actually entice us in our life, it is our senses. Let's say there is a very nice plate of very delicious food right in front of you. Even if you are full, you will want to eat that particular, you will want to taste that. I myself, I'm a big foodie and I love to eat. So sometimes if something very tasty is in front of me, I would want to try it. And once I try it and once I get the taste of it, I want to have more and more of it. This is what senses do to you. Senses normally are uncontrolled. If they don't have the right reins, if they don't have the right mind to control them, they are uncontrolled. They can go in any direction because they are always looking to satisfy themselves. Let it be our sight, let it be our taste, let it be our how we smell things. All these senses combined make us go in different directions. In UPSC life, there is a very, very direct correlation, right? Because when we are studying, sometimes we come across that notification on the phone. Achanak on the phone, there will be a notification and our senses right away will get distracted. Oh, let me look into what it is. What kind of a notification has come today? And then maybe it leads you to Instagram, maybe it leads you to Twitter, and then the scrolling starts, and within a few minutes you have spent hours because your senses have been distracted, because your mind does not know how to treat or how to control those particular senses. Your reins are completely not in control of your intellect, because at that time your intellect is shut down. You have not decided through your intellect what direction you want to go into. Your intellect is not trained well enough in order to direct your mind, not to let your senses overtake your decisions. And to be honest, I don't want to give you this lecture because it happens with me all the time. I get distracted all the time through notifications, through social media, through food. There are distractions in my life as well. Sometimes I want to rest more, I want to sleep more. Sometimes I want to get up late. Sometimes if I am focused on some work, maybe I get tired and I'm thinking, my mind is actually thinking about something else, maybe an episode of some other TV show that I want to watch. So all these are distractions that your senses bring on to us. So we have to have the control on our senses. That is very, very important. So if you understand this, then you will be able to also develop practical things in your life to be able to address these challenges. All right. So whenever, like I told you, gave you an example of social media, similarly food. Generally during UPSC journey, even I put on a lot of weight. I put on almost 10-15 kgs extra. That happens because we are so stressed already. We are already so much stressed that we tend to overeat, and obviously we are also not doing physical exercise. Now it is very important to not fall into that kind of a mentality or that kind of a chakravyuh, that kind of a cycle. We have to ensure that our senses are controlled. We eat smaller portions, we eat less, so that we are not intaking too many calories. Of course, we can treat ourselves, but we try to walk every day so that we burn some calories. I am not telling you work out, but you walk every day so that your metabolism continues and you do not put on a lot of weight. So like this, you have to adopt a little techniques by understanding what sense, using your intellect. Remember, the intellect is the driver, the charioteer, who's controlling the mind through the reins. The horses can be controlled, they can be brought under the control, but how? By letting your intellect consciously know which direction you are going. That is very important. Which direction you are going is very, very important, and that direction you have to always remind yourself of. Your intellect should be reminding your mind and then directing your senses to go in the right direction. All right. So similarly, for example, how I use different techniques now in order to control my senses. I was not on social media. That was one big positive for me when I was preparing for UPSC. So that way I was able to control a lot of my senses which were otherwise getting distracted due to social media. Number two what I also did was that I always tried to walk a lot during the daytime. That was not helping. Obviously, I still put on weight, but I still tried to walk in the evenings 1.5 hours. So that would take out some energy and give me focus. And during these walking times, I would remind myself of the things that I had to finish, the things I had to do studying wise, what plan I had for tomorrow, what did I achieve yesterday, what are the important concepts. I used to kind of revise them in my mind while walking. So that really helped me a lot to develop the self discipline. Then the third thing I used to do was I used to have these little batches or little slots of time in which I used to study. So instead of studying long for 6-7 hours, which becomes very difficult, I used to study in the slots of 1.5 2 hours, and then take a little break of 2 minutes just to kind of review, to refresh myself, and then get back to the studies again. That way I stayed very disciplined and I knew that I was following my schedule. Another way I used to do was that I used to make a goal of the number of pages I had to study every day. I did not make a goal of ये subject करना है आज, ये question banks करना है, ऐसे नहीं. I made a goal that look, history book मुझे I have to read 150 pages total. Let's say the history book is 150 pages. Just giving you an example. So I knew if I can do 20 pages per day, I can finish this book in 7 to 8 days. So I would make a goal that every day I will read 20 to 25 pages, and regardless of, sometimes what happens, chapters can overlap. Then in that case, I would try to make a logical ending to that reading on that day, and I would read almost 150 pages in 7 days. So that was discipline. I was able to control my senses through my mind and my intellect. I was directing myself in a very specific direction, that I have to do these many pages today, I have to do these many chapters today, so that I was able to cover it within the time limit that I had set for myself. The other thing I used to do was to stop myself for distractions. I definitely did cut off a lot of my interaction with the rest of the world, but I used to also engage with my near and dear ones, my family at the same time, so that there was a balance in my relationships. So I did not go out for weddings, to different celebrations, because I thought I would get distracted. And when you go to these weddings and celebrations, then you tell them you're preparing for UPSC, again this pressure comes over you. So the best thing is not do it. That is my solution. Maybe it doesn't work for you, maybe you can deal with it without that, but that's how I kept my senses, my body, my mind in check, by directing my intellect to tell me that look, this particular chariot is not going to get distracted by going to these events and by explaining to people what I am doing, what I am not doing. I will explain it to myself, I will study hard, and I will follow this particular direction. So so when you understand this whole thing at a philosophical level, then it becomes easier to find ways in which you can control your senses, right? Because otherwise what happens is that you try to figure out, why am I not, you start negatively talk, lot of negative talk with yourself. So today I was talking with someone and they told me that, they asked me, Manoj, how do you talk to yourself? Tell me that. Like when you are facing an extreme stress situation, or when you are facing a stressful situation, or when you are happy, how do you talk to yourself? Now that got me thinking, and I told them about how I talk to myself, and I will share with you also. So I am a very positive person. Even if something negative is happening, I always try to tell myself, no, I'll get it done. I have done well so far, I will push it and get it done. Now it is very important for us to learn from this, that this talking positively to ourselves really helps us in reinforcing or giving sort of a satisfaction or a support to our mind and our intellect, because a lot of times we can become very hopeless. Let's say for example, you were supposed to finish a chapter today for UPSC and you were not able to, for some reason, study. Then what are you going to tell yourself? Are you going to tell yourself, अरे यार मैं तो बिल्कुल पढ़ता ही नहीं, I am so bad, I am procrastinating and I am not doing this when I should be doing this, I am not working hard enough, look at the other people who are working so hard. Are you going to talk to yourself like this, or are you going to say, okay, strategically tell your mind, strategically, today I messed up, I shouldn't have taken this long break when it was not in my schedule, when I didn't need it, but I am going to overcome this, and tomorrow I am going to make up, I am going to take my break day and make up for this difference, make up for this missed day that I had. So this kind of a positive reinforcement, this kind of a positive talk, telling yourself and being strategic about it. Mind should not mind will listen to your intellect. This intellect and mind is actually different. So mind, because mind commands your, at the end of the day, mind is the one who is controlling your senses, where you are going, but the intellect is the one that is feeding it. So once your intellect is feeding the right things to the mind, this kind of positive talk really helps. But you have to be strategic about it. You have to actually achieve it. It's not that you always keep telling yourself something positively and you are not doing it. Then that will be cheating yourself. Then that is, you have figured out something that is very wrong. So I would suggest you that you start this positive talk to yourself, because that will go a long way in helping you overcome a lot of challenges that you face, especially with the discipline part in your UPSC preparation. Of course, now of course, one of the other things, practical advices I wanted to share with you was about how to make your calendars to study for UPSC. See, I do not want to share with you all a particular format today, because if I share with you a format, then you will just kind of copy paste it and you will not learn yourself how to manage your time, because time management is one of the key things about UPSC. This whole senses talk, this whole range talk, this whole mind and intellect and all that is fine. It's important to understand it at a philosophical level, but also making a calendar that is strong and then following that calendar is what will bring your senses in control. Now this time management and calendar, you can use a lot of apps. You can use even Excel sheet, that is good enough. You can use Notion, you can use all these different, you can even use a notebook. I used to literally make it on my notebook on papers, that this week this is what I have to cover. But that kind of a strategic outlook is very important, that you want to make such calendars, because calendars नहीं बनाओगे ना तो क्या होगा कि you will not be able to have a very specific way, path on which you are walking. फिर आप इधर उधर जाते रहोगे. आपको एक जर्नी तय करनी है, you have to go on this journey, but then you are going in different directions and you're wasting time while others are going in front and going towards the journey faster than you. So the fact that you have to be able to figure out which path you have to walk and how you have to walk it is the job of the time management and the table. Direction पता है आपको, पर किस तरह से और fast जाना है वो important है, right? So for that I would advise a lot of you, all of you, that you make a particular calendar suited to your needs. What will you cover? How many pages of history? How many pages of geography? How many pages of polity? How many pages of these different things you will read on a daily basis, and what will you achieve in the end of the month, in the end of the second month, third month, fourth month, fifth month. अभी एक साल बचा है तो 12 months, what are you going to cover and how? How are you going to do the writing practice? How are you going to do the prelims practice? All that you have to also cover. So that is very, very important while you are practicing for UPSC. Alright, so all these different things that I have told you, how to control your senses is very important, and you should think of it at a philosophical level. Work out, internally work out your own plan to beat your senses, to direct your senses through your intellect in the right direction. Consistently keep thinking about it every month or so. कहाँ जा रहा हूँ मैं? Which direction am I going? Am I going in the wrong direction? Am I missing some things? Am I doing something wrong? Keep looking at the copies of the toppers so that you keep getting understanding and the motivation, because that is the biggest source you have. No book can match that. No book can match that. Alright. So all these are the things that I wanted to share with you today. There is one particular follower of mine on this channel that who wanted to have his some advice on philosophy optional. Sorry, I have not been able to get back to you. I stay very busy with my work, but I will get someone to talk about philosophy optional. Also, my overall advice on optional is that syllabus, previous year questions. These are the biggest guides of any optional. Take the syllabus, figure out the books according to the syllabus. There will be 15-20 books max that will cover the entire syllabus, and then use the previous year questions, practice the previous year. I mean, you obviously have to cover the entire syllabus through the books, and then practice the previous year questions a lot, because they will get repeated or similar questions will come. For any optional, this particular strategy works, but for philosophy specifically, I'll get someone, and for others also, of course, I'll get some people, other optionals, PubAd or political science or economics, alright, so that you guys can get an idea. So let me know what do you think of today's class, today's session, today's this little bit of philosophy from me. And if you like it, such kind of things, I will definitely make more of that. If you have any questions, let me know. Happy to answer them for you. And have a good week. Study hard. Keep going on the right path. You can do it. Any one of you can do it. You just have to figure out the right path. You have to just let your intellect go, let you go in the right direction. That's what matters. All right. Take care. Bye bye. Have a good day.